Hello, welcome back to our channel. Welcome. So today we want to talk about the difference between tantrum and meltdown because a lot of parents are confused about the two of them because it's not the same approach you used to handle them. Okay, so let's start with a tantrum. A tantrum is basically bad behavior or all those shouting and yelling a child does when they want something. All right. So when they want to collect something, when they desire something, or when they want to avoid something, they either start shouting, crying, throwing themselves on the floor because they want something from you. And this is not peculiar to only children with autism. Every child throws tantrum, even adults will throw tantrums because tantrums is just an avoidance technique or by either frowning or keeping malice or just denying friendship because tantrum is just a reaction to rejection or a denial of something. So when we are denied something, we just like show ourselves that we are angry that that thing has been denied. So with maturity, the child should overgrow it because he has learned how to accept no that it's not everything he wants that will be given to him. All right, so with maturity, throwing tantrums is reduced. But for the autistic child, remember that the autistic child has to be taught everything. So he needs to learn that it's not everything that you ask for that will be given to you. He has to learn it. You have to teach him intentionally that. All right. So throwing tantrums is really a manipulative way of getting something. So with the reward system and punishment, it could be taught. Throwing tantrums is a naughty behavior because the child is trying to manipulate you to get something from you. Meltdown is a distress call that a child goes through. He's calling your attention that he's uncomfortable with something, and we call it sensory overload. So maybe the child is having issues with some noise around, with some he's just uncomfortable, just like a baby will be uncomfortable with a wet diaper and he's crying. So if your baby has a wet diaper on him, no matter if you are trying to feed him, if you are trying to pamper him, the child is still crying because his skin is itching with the wet urine. So until you remove the wet diaper, the child calms down. This is how meltdown works. For a child experiencing meltdown, he is having sensory issues. So the solution to it is to find out what is causing the trigger, what's causing the sensory overload, and remove it, just as you remove the wet diaper. So for meltdown, the child is not really trying to manipulate you to get something. So one of the ways you know whether it is a meltdown or a tantrum is when you give the child things you think he needs. Okay, he's crying, he's shouting, and you're giving him his toys and he's throwing it on the floor. You're giving him biscuits and he's throwing it at your face. You see that those are not the things he wants. So he's not manipulating you for things. He's just uncomfortable. Something, so maybe it could be a sudden noise he heard, it could be some physical discomfort, it could be a delight issue, whatever it is, the child is just uncomfortable. So imagine you being uncomfortable with yourself and you cannot pinpoint what is causing the discomfort. That is what a meltdown is. So when the child is experiencing meltdown, he could even be hurting himself. He could just be looking for a way to calm himself down, jumping, or even hitting his head on the wall. All those signs because he's just trying a way to calm himself down. But a child that is throwing tantrums, the difference I've noticed with them is that the child throwing tantrums will even come to either hurt you or hurt another person. They will scratch another person, they will push their brother, they will just be pulling you, but they will not hurt themselves. So even if they are throwing themselves on the floor, they are careful not to hurt themselves, because as they are doing it, they are looking to see if they are getting your attention, so that you do that which they want. So once you do that which they want, whether is to avoid learning, or whether they don't want to bait, whatever, and you say, I go, I'm not baiting you again, the child will just calm down. All right. So these are, so in a nutshell, to know to know when your child is having tantrum or meltdown is when he starts exhibiting those bad behavior. Try to give him something he wants. If he calms down, you know that it is just tantrum he is exhibiting. So you have known that this is how your son behaves when he wants something. So what the next step now is to now teach him appropriate behavior. For example, to ask in an appropriate way, instead of throwing yourself on the floor, just say, Mommy, please, or Mommy, give me, and it will be given. So you have to teach him, and teaching him, you have to really use rewards and punishment to teach him. Of course, it will take time, and of course, there will be struggle, there will be more tantrums, and there will be power play, because initially your child is used to when he shouts, you give him something. But now you're now telling him you have to ask. So he will shout the more, and you have to ignore the shout. You have to endure the shout. Of course, it is ear piercing. You have to just make sure he's not hurting himself and ignore him. So when he knows that you're not paying attention to him, that whatever he does, he's not getting that toy, he will learn to calm down. That's how to teach a child throwing tantrums. Because remember, you have known that that's what he wants, that's what he's crying for. All right. So on the other hand, if your child starts to do all those bad behaviors, and you start giving him things and he's not wanting those things, know that it is a meltdown. He's experiencing a lot of distress, he's experiencing some discomfort, and now it is on you to find out what is causing the discomfort. Using the example of a baby with the wet night diaper, you remove the diaper. It could be, I remember an issue I had. A child was crying. They have tried everything. They did not know what was causing the child to cry, until suddenly they saw an ant that was biting him on his feet. So it was an ant, this soldier ant, that was biting the baby. And the baby was crying. They were trying to breastfeed him. He was still crying. So he did not even care for the breast milk. He did not care for the pampering, until that ant that was biting him on the feet was removed. So it is now for you to identify what could be causing your child distress. If it's too much sound, if it's a sudden sound he heard, if it is strangers, if it is his clothing, it's your duty to identify it and try to remove those things, and he will calm down. All right. So this is the difference between tantrums and meltdown. Tantrums are manipulative. You have to use all you can. Rewards and punishment is what will stop it. But for meltdown, rewards, punishment will not stop it. You just have to help your child to calm down. And in so as he grows older, you have to now teach him coping mechanisms. For example, if you notice that your child is sensitive to too much crowd, he doesn't like crowd, he may seem to start shouting and crying, because some children don't like crowd. Some children, when they go to a party or to church, when they see that kind of crowd, they start misbehaving. So when you notice that these are the things that trigger your child, you just have to start reducing him. If it's something you cannot stop, like going to church, you have to teach him coping mechanisms, so that as you are going to church, you have to start prompting him, priming him. We are going to church, or you calm down. These are people, they are good people. We start introducing him to people gradually, and be by his side, so that he doesn't get overwhelmed. So these are some coping mechanisms you have to do with meltdown. So in subsequent video, we'll talk about all those sensory overloads. But if it is tantrum, I beg, use all the thing in your power to stop your child from doing those bad behaviors. So I hope this video helps to clear some doubts. If you have any question or any comments, please share and we'll reply you as soon as we can. Thank you for watching.